Welcome to the Au Jus. I'm your host, Beef Loaf. This show is being sponsored by our friends Punky's Pizza and Pasta, located at 2600 South Wallace, my personal favorite eatery in the neighborhood. They have the best selection of pizzas and pastas, as well as sandwiches and salads of any spot in Bridgeport. Currently, they have a terrific Monday nights only special. 1 medium cheese pizza for $12.99. No promo codes, no minimums. Just place the order by 3 p.m. or later, and you get a one medium cheese pizza for $12.99. Toppings can be added, but at their normal prices. Hit the website, punkyspizza.com, for all of your carry-out or delivery orders, or to cater your next party. You can also call 312-842-2100. The Scarlatta family will take care of you. Punky's Pizza and Pasta. This show is also powered by you, loyal 108 supporter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to tickle the undercarriage in the process. Like, comment, turn on notifications, and most definitely super chat, because that's how we get paid and how we continue to make the content you know and love. Tonight's guest. He's the host of the San Ranto Show, the frontman of the Bleacher Bum Band, and the veritable OG of Cubs Twitter, whose roots can be traced back to the old country. Danny Rockett, welcome to the Au Jus, my friend.
Beef Loaf, I am so excited to be on the Au Jus right now, talking Cubs Sox. Listen, a lot of people over the years, I've been a big fan from afar. We've never actually partied together or hung out.
Yeah.
But I feel like we are sort of like two sides of the same coin in the same city. Like, the 108 and the Ranters. We're just kind of like this yin-yang Chicago universe of the people that don't take this crap too damn seriously. Just like to have some freaking fun. And so I'm a huge admirer, and it's an honor to be on your show right now.
Danny, thank you so much. I think that way too, and I feel the same way. Like I've been telling Trezy, I'm like, we got to try to get out and hang out with you guys at a Cubs game, not Cubs Sox. Just see you guys in your natural element, like doing what you do, to see how much it's like what we do. Because I see like all the drama, like someone stole Jeff's seat in the bleachers. I'm like, this is all the crazy shit that happens in our section too. That I love all that dumb stuff. Like it's amazing,
Yeah, no, I mean we go hard. We take it we take the dumb stuff way too seriously. The baseball is secondary to the hanging out and the drinking and the tailgating and the shooting the shit out in the ballpark. So it's it's absolutely being all Chicagoans, we can all unite over this one thing: Italian beef.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. The food is where we kind of intersect. There's no question about it. Let me get to this drink real quick. We got a super chat from Lil Yumper. He says, "Worlds collide." So thanks, Yump. Appreciate you. I'm having a little tequila right now. I don't want to drink too much, Danny, and I'm Mexican, so this is like mother's milk. So
yeah, exactly. You've been drinking that since out of the bottle, as I say.
It's little kids, right? Yeah. Exactly. So I reached
my Cubs mug here. I got some yerba mate. This is some South American special right here to jazz me up. I need all the energy I can get right now to represent the Cubs against the White Sox in a very low moment for my team.
I was gonna say, well, I wanted to get to this because I was reaching out to you and I was digging through your timeline because I pull pictures or whatever, and I realized that Ranterfest was coming. And I was like, oh shit. I asked anyway. I thought, okay, well, Danny might be zonked. He might not want to do this, but whatever. It's the time we could do it. We could do it again when the Sox come here. But I was like, let's try to do it now. And you're like, yes, if I'm still alive. So luckily you made it until today. Is what I'm doing. But I want to, at least for my audience, the Sox audience, what is Ranterfest? And how did it go this past weekend?
Well, it really was. First of all, it went incredibly. We raised $2,000. We threw a great party. We raised $2,000 for Lost Boys Inc., which is a group. It's a sports-based youth development program in the South Shore neighborhood. So, to be honest, like a lot of the people, like Levante, who runs that group, he's a Sox fan, but we're kind of stealing him up to the north side a little bit. He's got himself a Cubs jersey now. He had Marcus Stroman down when he was on the team. So it's like we're making headway with turning Levante around. But
you're converting people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we're all baseball fans, but of course we have our allegiances based on where you went really when you were a kid is what it comes down to.
It's true.
And But we had a 3-day party that we threw. It was started Friday night. We had some comedians on the Sun Ranter show. What I tried to put together was get a bunch of different comedians who were fans of the teams that we faced. So I got this guy Eric Wheeler, who's a Brewers fan. He's an insult comedian, so he loved insulting Cub fans, and so he'd come on the show. He'd be our heel. Everybody would hate him, and we'd have a good time. And then I got these two guys from the New Nasty Boys, Chris Weir and Billy DeVore. They're also comedians. They've got a Reds podcast, so I have them on the show. And I thought, what? And then we got a guy named Joe Kilgallen, who's a Cubs fan. He's an up and coming comedian. He's got a couple hour specials out there that you could see on Punch Up Live. But I'm like, let's get everybody together. Let's put up a comedy show. Then we'll have the Bleacher Bum Band play, which is mine and Bleacher Jeff's band. We sing about baseball and the Cubs, and let's throw a big party. So that's an idea I had been going with for a while. And then the other idea I had going was that we should have a party in which we do like trivia and like all the games we play on the show. Like we play this game called the Bitch Clock, where you spin the wheel of Cubs grievances, and then you got like a minute on the clock to go hard in the paint against your team. And so we had I saw in your notes one person that made the Bitch Clock at Ranterfest, for example, was Nick Madrigal. He had his own category.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So we just had a lot of fun. So I took those two ideas to have like kind of a carnival-esque festival. We played Pin the Pants on Clark, for example, and to take this carnival-esque festival, also a comedy music festival, and throw it into one thing. We called it Ranterfest. We charged some money. We did some raffles. We had people donate bobbleheads and experiences and Cubs experiences stuff. And we had everybody come together at a couple different venues, Output Lounge, Almost Home up in Wrigleyville. And we all got together and we had a great time. We had Ronnie Woo Woo there singing. Can we swear on this show?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
That's a free for all.
I wrote a parody of Rock the Casbah called "Fuck the Cardinals." So we had Ronnie Woo Woo like dancing. I'm down in the crowd with the microphone, and he's going, "Fuck the Cardinals, fuck the Cardinals." And we got some great footage, which we're going to release for our 1,000th episode. We raised a good amount of money. And I hired a guy to do videography of the whole thing. So eventually we're going to release all the great moments of this thing.
Beautiful.
So it was just, and the other thing we did that I added on to this whole element was there's like 20 different Cubs pods and blogs and, and we're all our own separate satellites and islands, but we're all kind of doing the same thing and talking about the same stuff all the time. And I was like, why are we like, what did we get, a penny a download? Like, who cares? Like, we're not in. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think we can share a little bit of this moment. So I invited every single Cubs podcast. A lot of them are out of town, so they couldn't come. But some of the out of towns ones came in. So we had people flying. Yeah, we had people coming from the Pacific Northwest, California, New York City, so all over the place. Kentucky, we had some people coming up from. So, it turned out to be a really good turnout, even despite the rain on Saturday. We had the place packed on Saturday and Friday. And so, huge success. It was our first one. And at the end of it, I had some of my friends saying, "So we're doing this every year, right?" And I was like, oh, God.
You're locked in now, Danny. It went great, and people are like, yeah, I can't wait to come to the next one.
This is really fun, Danny. Do it again. I'm like, if I have time to ruin my life for 3 weeks again to prepare for this, then absolutely we'll do it next year. Well, Mike Presnowski, still feeling it.
Still feeling it, exactly. I saw some pictures of some of the boys was out there. They're looking a little hungover. Quick question for you before we move on to Cubs stuff and get off of something that's highly positive. Anything you learned doing this one that you would do different? Because we put on events too, and I'm always interested to hear what other people putting them out. What do they think that they learned from it, or they could do better some next time?
Yeah, well, there's some stuff that I would like to expand upon and make it their own thing. We had a Cubs fashion show where we asked, I recently made a Cubs captain's hat. And then and I've made Cubs sweaters. All you got to do is get a sweater, Go over to the dry cleaner, ask the lady there for $6-7. She'll sew that thing on perfectly to your sweater. All of a sudden, you got a Cubs cardigan. They're selling that thing for $150 down at the Cubs store. Right. I just went to Broadway, bought a sweater for $15, a patch for $5, had the lady sew it on for another $5, and then I'm there for $25. I got a $150 sweater. I look like $1 million. So then I made a captain's hat. I was like, wouldn't this be fun if we had a contest and everybody showed up and walked the runway? So that's what we did. So I had my neighbor, he made me a cape out of obvious shirts. So it didn't really work. He had I'll show it at some other point. I'll wear it in the bleachers or so. I'll wear it to Comiskey at some point. I'll wear the cape down there. We'll go party down there and tailgate. I'll wear a cape. That's right. Captain Cubbo, who I don't know if a lot of you guys know, he's like this dude dressed up like a samurai cub warrior. And this dude, he goes hard, man. He is like, he does like the cosplay world of things, like almost like the Comic-Con people. So he will, these elaborate costumes. He's like a Cubs superhero, dude. Like, this dude's incredible. Roberto Ramos is his name. Grew up across Wrigley. Just an incredible dude. The nicest guy you'll ever meet. He made me a pair of shoes for the event. So we had a lot of people. Bernie Barron, this woman who like donated a bunch of stuff for the raffle. She also made like a cool Cubs jean jacket. We had a cloak. My co-host, Infield Fly Girl, made a cloak. We had my other co-host's wife. She made a bleacher bum bag, which is exactly the size of a bag you could get into Wrigley Field, which is 16 by 16 by 8. Not only does it have different compartments for all the things and secret compartments for things you might want to hide.
You don't want them to see, exactly.
Little mini bottles, for example. It's got that. Plus, it doubles as a seat cushion. Like the thing. Yeah, so we're like up there doing like Cubs fan Shark Tank up there. They're like doing these prototypes. So I would expand on this idea, maybe do an entire fashion show contest. We could do a citywide thing, dude. Like Cubs socks to have a fashion competition, and we're just like walk the runway, bro. Like, awesome. So I would expand on that. Different. I would have it not have a 3.5 hour rain delay.
Yeah.
I mean, we got out of that game on Saturday night at 1:15 in the morning, so that was pretty brutal. They didn't even start the game till 9:30, so that was kind of harsh. We lost some people obviously through that.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
They
hit it hard during the rain delay. Things happen.
Well, people had to drive back to the Quad Cities. Like thought the game would be over by 10 o'clock, and they'd just be home by 1 in the morning. But instead of 4, so they left. But it was incredible. I mean, we had such great. Club 400 donated a party. They're having a party with the 1984 Cubs.
Oh, okay.
And a golf outing. They donated 2 tickets to that. So we had a great raffle prize. We had Pearl Jam tickets at Wrigley in the raffle. So people were really excited that won that stuff to get to golf with like Ryan Sandberg. That's pretty cool. So we just had a great time. I mean, I don't know what I would do differently. It went so well. Obviously next year it's going to go badly because it's the sophomore year. So I mean, I'm not going to plan anything because it's just going to suck either way. So like,
you're not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it because I know it's already a disaster. So yeah, I'm just not going to even worry.
I love it. Let me get to this drink from Prez. Prez says, paying forward a drink to beef that Danny Rockett bought me. So thank you. You're passing it through. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Prez.
I bought Prez a drink at Wrigley Field yesterday. I bumped into him just yesterday. Yesterday, I was like, hey, Prez, man, you look thirsty. This man...
He always looks thirsty. We see him he comes through when there's big tailgates for Sox. The man likes to tailgate. And it's like, he usually looks thirsty. He deserves a drink.
I don't even know if he's a Cub fan or a Sox fan. I think he's a beer fan.
Yeah, exactly. He's a fan of booze and partying. I think that's basically what it is. Now, I hate to ruin the mood, Danny, because I love hearing about all this. And I'm happy to hear other people doing events that are going well. It seems like as a people want to get out with each other and party and do these things, especially in a post-COVID world. It's like we're grateful to be able to get together again. But I'm going to bring it down a little bit because I want to talk a little Cubs. I want to get the White Sox fan base here understanding what's going on your side of the ledger as these two teams collide tomorrow and Wednesday. My first question is, what the fuck is going on with the Cubs right now? Because they started out hot and they looked like a tough team, potential World Series contender. and they've been skidding. What's happening over there?
Well, and you mentioned they started off hot. They did, and they did it in a way that was pretty unexpected because we faced a lot of injuries and we seemed to win anyway. And it was really the starting pitching that was carrying us through that. And some of that was a surprise. Some we didn't really know about. Like we signed Shota Imanaga in the offseason. You're going to see him tomorrow at Wrigley. And, he a historic start to his major league career in that, people comparing him to Fernando Valenzuela,
right.
This historic rookie starts, even though he's not technically a rookie. He pitched in Japan for many, many a year and had a lot of success over there. But he had an historic start. He was incredible. He got blown up in his last start, but we were kind of waiting for that to happen. They pushed him back a little bit. All the Cub fans blamed that as like kind of messing with his rhythm. It's like, kind of like, it's the opposite of playing the hot hand. They iced their own guy.
Yeah.
For
they
no
called a
reason.
timeout and made your own guy's on the free throw line kind of deal. Yeah.
Dude had an ERA under 1, and they're like, nah, we don't need that guy.
Dan, you think it's just like they're trying to temper the adjustment of going from pitching once a week in Japan to every 5 days here? But it seemed like he's handling it well, so what's the difference? Why not let it roll, right?
That's what I say, and that's what I said. And if he were to run out of steam by like the All-Star break, then you skip a start. Then you do, but not well. Let's roll. Not well. The dude's rolling, and this is my problem overall with where the Cubs are now. The reason we've been losing is because if it's not one thing, it's the other. Like the way we were losing back in that time, when we did lose, the starting pitching was so good, but it was the bullpen that was blown up. Adbert Alzolay, who's now I believe they moved him to the 60-day. That dude, he was hurt. He was pitching hurt, but nobody knew it because our training staff has obviously never went to school and doesn't know anything about anything because they're really bad at their jobs. And that guy was blowing save after save after save until he lost the closer role. Now he's on the IL. I don't know what's really going on with that. He's got a strain. And then, so if it's not one thing, it's the other. And now the guys come back from the IL and they can't hit. Like we're scoring like less than 3 runs a game, and you're not going to win a lot of ball games when you're doing that. And I know offense is down league wide, but comparatively, we're in the bottom third of the league. And lately, we're down there with where the White Sox have been hitting, which is the worst team in baseball. So I'm like, okay, so if we're hitting as bad as the Sox, then what exactly is going on? So we've lost consecutive series. I don't know, 5, 6 in a row now. I mean, I lost count now. It's been so many. We just lost to the Reds. We're better than the Reds, and we lost to them. We lost 2 or 3. Yeah. And we looked a little anemic, and we've been looking anemic for about a month. And all of May, we went 10-18, I believe, was the final of that. And June so far is 1-1. It's like, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. The alchemy isn't there. We got a new manager.
Craig Counsell coming in replacement of David Ross. I was going to ask about that because you mentioned that they're not hitting. And it's been brutal. But let me let you know, Danny, the White Sox have been the elixir for teams who aren't hitting for shit. They played the Phillies early in the season when the Phillies weren't hitting at all. The Phillies started hitting and just destroyed them and went on a terrific run, and now they have the best record in baseball. We went up to Toronto, and Bo Bichette had like 4 hits on the season, and then he started hitting a bunch against us, and then the Blue Jays started scoring a bunch of runs. So I just want to let you know that if there's any team that could break a team out of a fucking slump, it is the White Sox, despite the fact you will have to face Eric Fedde on Wednesday. At least you get Chris Flexen Tuesday night. But I was going to get to the manager here because, to me, other than when they signed the pitcher from Japan, before that happened, I was thinking that the big offseason acquisition for the Cubs was going to be the manager, because this is the second time in the last decade where they went and spent a bunch of money and went out and got the guy considered like one of the best managers in the league, and that's Craig Counsell. And so my question for you is how are the Cubs fans relating to Counsell early? Are they blaming him for a lot of the scuffling? Like, kind of what's the early relationship with the former Brewer skipper?
Well, we already had a pretty strong relationship with Craig Counsell being one of our biggest rivals, division rivals, manager for so many years. And we watched Craig Counsell manage a pretty strong Brewers bullpen for years. That was anchored, by what's his freaking name? the dirty
Josh
guy.
Hader.
Josh Hader, yeah. the dirty, stringy-haired, dude.
Yeah, they had him. They had Devin Williams. They had a ridiculous back.
Well, and Williams is hurt this year, but it doesn't seem to matter because this organizationally, the Milwaukee Brewers just have been churning out young dudes that kind of like this create a player thing that we laugh about with like the St. Louis Cardinals did to us for years. Like some guy we never heard of comes and like hits for the cycle, does like 3 walk-offs in a row. Like you're like, where did this guy come from? And then the Milwaukee Brewers seem to be that team now. We just lost to them up in Milwaukee as well. And it seems like all the things that we were giving Craig Counsell credit for was actually more of just the Brewers being a better organization than the Chicago Cubs, and having the next guy coming up from the minors being a stud, and making their doing away with anything the Cubs were throwing at him. So Cub fans are surprisingly being slightly patient, because I think we had a preconceived notion that this guy will be great for us. There have been a couple of questionable moves, bullpen stuff that you can kind of armchair quarterback things, or
but we don't know all the information. We don't know whose arm's tender, or we can't come in, or whatever weird situations are going on. But we regardless, we're going to be like, well, I want that guy instead of this guy.
I mean, they were always putting Nick Madrigal as a defensive replacement for Chris Morel in the end of the game, and everybody was like, why are they like? And then he would end up taking it at bat in a key moment as the Cubs were trying to come back and win, and it's like some swinging bunt that goes like 4 feet. He gets thrown out by like 8 feet, and you're like, what the hell? What are we looking at here? These guys, they got no pop. Anyway, he's down to the minors now. I know you want to get to that trade.
We're going to get to him a little bit.
So that's been a little rough. So there's a couple things that we have, but the more concerning thing is I feel like the Cubs believed that they could get a bunch of B players and not have any really full-fledged stars. Right. You're still spending $200 million. You're still spending double more. You're still spending double the money that the Brewers are spending to trail them in the standings. And you're doing it with their old manager and no real stars. So they think they can do it with like all these like B minus players with no like real A-listers, that there's some sort of alchemy that like some greater than the parts kind of thing goes on, especially with a quote unquote genius like Craig Counsell plugging everybody in where they need to be. And so far it has not worked.
I think a lot of teams have that approach of, well, we're so smart that we could figure this out without having to go buy Juan Soto or whoever the top of the line hitters are. And I think there is a lot of that approach. Some of it's scarcity, right? There aren't a lot of those guys you can go out and actually buy. Yeah. But teams with big bankrolls like the Cubs are ones who should be able to go out and buy that. And so it is interesting, the approach there. Do you think some of the patience with Counsell is the relationship with David Ross on the way out? Like, how were Cubs fans with him leaving? Were they positive of him when he was here? Was there negativity, like kind of lukewarm? Where were they with David Ross as he's going? I just want to get a feel for like why the patience with Craig Counsell, especially in a year where it looks like the Cubs should be the front runner in this division. It's not working out that way right now.
Yeah, well, it won't last. I mean, the patience, and I won't say that everybody's got patience. I mean, there's a lot of people talking in terms of David Ross, how we blamed. We weren't sure who to blame. Like, because last year there were a lot of frustrating things that happened in that they did not play the kids. And so we sat through all these washed up veterans who were all just at the end of their careers. And, they weren't excited. Eric Hosmer, Trey Mancini, who's the catcher? Tucker Barnhart. And they're like, these guys are real pros. And you're like, not really. Like, it's over for these dudes. We don't want to watch them play, but we have these guys in the minor leagues that, like Matt Mervis, he's like hitting dongs every freaking day. Yeah. They said they didn't break with Christopher Morel. Hell, we didn't even break last year with 3 outfielders. They were like, nah, we'll have 7 first basemen, 6 third basemen, and we got Dansby Swanson, so he'll just cover everything else. And you're like, what the hell are you doing? None of it made sense to anybody. Like, usually there's, debate with amongst Cub fans. Hey, you don't know, and you don't know. But we all agreed that everything they were doing was stupid. And that we were united, dude. Like, and usually we're arguing or like there's like cooler heads are prevailing, like Bleacher Nation, for example. They're not gonna like do these real knee-jerk stuff like we are. But even by the end of the year, we had like your Brett Taylors and your Michael Ceramis of the world being like, all right, enough is enough. This makes no fucking sense at all what you're doing. This is insane. And so like we were all united against and then we thought, well, okay, they fired David Ross. So maybe Jed Hoyer was like, God, this guy's an idiot. He was doing everything wrong. We told him to do this. He managed on the field, managed the team wrong. We gave him the team. He screwed it up. But now we're saying, oh man, it might have been Jed Hoyer all along. And, just having, we're like, oh no, the guy that screwed up last year is still there. And it doesn't matter that it's Craig Counsell. It is organizationally top down. Yeah. And that is a bigger issue because then we're going to suck for a decade.
Right.
That's
brutal.
I know that the White Sox, you guys have faced this because you were promised like this big thing. You had this team that was going together.
And we are playing a ton of washed veterans right now. And some of it is just like some of Sox fans that obviously we want to see our kids come and play, but a lot of them aren't quite ready yet. And then some of it is just, we just want to watch a competent baseball player be on the field. So I understand no one signed Tommy Pham, but right now we'll take Tommy Pham because he looks like an actual baseball player, not the shit they've been running out there. So I hear what you're saying. I want to get to the point where we're at what you're saying, Danny. We're like, we have the guys on the right there, and we're like, oh, we need to get these guys up there and move these guys out. We're waiting for them to get there. Like we brought Brian Ramos up. He looked okay for a little bit. He struggled after he came off the IL. They sent him back down. Colson Montgomery not quite ready yet. We're getting up to that point. So the yelling will probably start in the second half of the season, but right now we're just like, please, anyone look competent out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You just don't want to be like the A's of last year or something like that, because that's just embarrassing. And to be honest, like, the way the feast and famine MLB right now, you got most teams just trying to be 500 because they got the participation trophy, postseason tournament, as we call it on our show. We don't even call it the playoffs anymore. It's just you got the postseason tournament, then the World Series, which actually is not against the world. It's against
just the teams in this
league. Just the teams in this country and one in Canada. But so you got everybody just trying to be just slightly above 500 to try to get in this thing and get a bite at the apple. And then you got like the Dodgers, which is like the total halves. And then you got, the people that aren't even trying at all. Like,
White Sox, A's, Rockies.
Exactly.
We're the sludge at the bottom. That's right.
And your MLB's always had these teams, but now you're doing it for the pole position and of the draft and things like that. So,
but even now we're screwed because we're not allowed to pick in the top 5 2 years in a row. So the best they can do, I think, is pick 10th or 11th. And they might lose 120 games. So we're getting the suffering and none of the bang back. But one thing that where we pushed some suffering onto Cubs fans, it was back in 2021 when we sent you Nick Madrigal and Cody Hoyer, who actually was a decent reliever, for Craig Kimbrell. And it was a big trade for us at the time, not only because we were like, okay, we're actually making a move to go for it. Whether or not Kimbrell fit the White Sox roster great with Liam Hendricks aside, we're adding up as many relievers as we can. Our group at 108, we were never fans of Madrigal. We just thought the guy was picked too high. He's never going to become what he was. What did you think when the trade was made, Danny? And now, what does Cubs Twitter think about Nick Madrigal? Because I saw some things that were not too pleasant about Nick Madrigal.
We never liked Nick Madrigal either. We didn't like the trade, and we also thought he was picked too high. We're like, what the hell were they thinking? And it was like, God, dude, who picked him? That none of that ever made sense. We both lost the trade, I would say.
Yes.
So
double losers on that trade. Yeah. Cody's arm exploded. Like he's it's unfortunate.
Never saw him play, and it's a shame when obviously a talented guy his career gets derailed by injuries. It's sad, but that's what happened to him, and so that was just. Nick Madrigal, they tried to make it work, and we would always make, quit trying to make fetch happen kind of thing. Cause they would try to plug him in anywhere. Yeah, we had They tried him. He's really a second baseman, but not even that good of one. We have we're pretty good defensively up the middle with Dansby.
I would say
Swanson,
terrific.
Nico Horner. Yeah, if not the best in the majors defensively.
Yes.
Offensively, we can talk about, but third base, the guy's got no pop. That's like right. So nothing, that's like there was just no fit on this team for this guy. And I don't know if too many teams have a fit for a guy like Nick Madrigal. Every roster spot is sacred. And for a guy with no pop, he was called Nicky Two Strikes because he would sit there and battle. We never saw that. That never happened. That never materialized for us. We called him Nicky Five Steps because he used to have to take 5 steps to throw the ball from third to first. So we had all different names. We would make fun of like every time he ran the bases, he looked like Fred Flintstone starting his car. It's just ridiculous. Or like those cartoons where their feet move really fast.
But they don't go nowhere.
Yeah, but he didn't go anywhere. Yeah, exactly. It's like he's stuck in the mud. He got thrown out at home the other day, and it was a bad send, too, so it wasn't totally his fault. But,
right.
But, we're a team that always is like putting pressure on the defense. We run just because we think that, I don't know, that they're in Little League, I think, that the kid's definitely going to throw it away.
Right?
Yeah. And they always do. It's like, dude, this is major leagues. But so we get thrown out a lot that way anyway. Nick Madrigal, man, he never worked out for us. He doesn't, the Cub fans never liked him. One time he hit a home run and everybody thought it was funny. Not even excited.
Yeah, it was against the Sox. I remember that. It was in across town. He hit the home. Yeah, and it was more mocking us than it was like you were like, oh, he's actually good. It's like, oh, fuck these guys. They gave us this guy and he hit a home run out of nowhere. Like
Cubs win the trade, I think is what a lot of us said. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Just at one moment, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's been down, and then obviously Nicky's been demoted, I believe. Yeah. Now, what's the tenor of Cubs Twitter during all this? A rough month. Do you guys start infighting? Like in Sox Twitter, we start fighting about absolutely anything. Right now, they're fighting about the play-by-play announcer because the sports media, the sports radio stations don't like the play-by-play guy, and so they've started. A little bit of a back and forth with him, and then a lot of the fans now are jumping in on it and hitting their sides. So we're fighting about shit that ain't even on the field, but it is entertaining at least. How's Cubs Twitter doing right now with regards to stuff?
Well, we're similar. I mean, we fight when we're winning, we fight when we're losing. But I said it was really weird at the end of last year how united we were in like not liking the direction of like how conservative this team was with their young players. Mm-hmm. We missed the playoffs by just a couple games last year, and it was really the difference between a couple games. And so like when you're losing on the margins, you felt like if you just had that one guy that was fast and could have stolen that base, you win that game. If you just had that one reliever to shut down the 8th inning, you would have won that game. So there was all these little things that piled up to.
It's frustrating too when one of the teams in the pile with you there that snuck through is the one that gets to the World Series. That's when it's the most frustrating because, like you mentioned, it's not the playoffs anymore. It's this tournament, and it's a different thing. If you get in, you got a shot. It's like it's that, and the Diamondbacks went.
Well, and I didn't really feel like if we got in that we had a shot. We didn't have a good enough team. Like people. Delusional Cub fans, which, every team's got their delusional famous, I root for them no matter what. It's like, yeah, that's right. But you don't have to be an idiot and think they're good. You know what I mean? Like, right. You can be like, they suck, but I still like the uniform and right. You can still buy their gear, although it's on discount now. Let me tell you that much. You get it for half off. Yeah, exactly. So wait till the trade deadline. No, those jerseys are half off. It's just like Cubs Twitter is always running hot, of course. We're pretty depressed right now. We're an abused fan base, especially because we are the biggest suckers on the planet in the fact that like we're willing to like fill Wrigley Field and pay. That beer that I bought Praz yesterday, $20.
Woo.
$20. Now I don't know what they're going for at Sox Park, like what 14 or something.
About like $14. Yeah, and actually the full season ticket holders we get 15% discount on every purchase. So like we cut $1 or $2 off of that, but yeah, it's regardless brutal either way. Like.
And they won't even like it was Christopher Morel bobblehead the other day, and I was talking to a season ticket holder the other day who's paying at least $5,000 a year for his bleacher ticket, 81 games.
Yeah.
You know, he's playing, and he's like, I gotta get. It's raining, pouring rain, and he's like, oh, I gotta get down there and get that bobblehead. I'm like, well, you're a season ticket holder. Don't want your rep get it for you? He's like, nope. They only got 10,000 of them. He's like, I gotta get in there, and I'm like, dude, you gonna sit in the rain for 3.5 hours in the bleachers? Not even any cover. You know, like, what are you gonna do? And he's gonna sit there and drink $20 beers, waiting for the game to start. And that's that's 5 hours because they opened the gates 2 hours before the game that got delayed 3.5 hours. So it's like brutal. You know, these people, there's a long day in there. And anyway, so we're suckers for taking it like year after year after year where they just ream us and to be like, we're going to be better. But we pay with some of the highest prices in baseball.
Right. Yep.
And Wrigley is fun to be at. Day games are fun to go to, you know, like
can't disagree. Even as a Sox fan going to Wrigley, it's a good time. It's fun. Like,
exactly.
It's a good ballpark.
You got the neighborhood going on. You're there all day. You know, people are puking on your shoes. It's incredible. But when year after year after year, for it to be like this kind of, oh, we maybe get to 500. Like, wait, why is the bleacher ticket $100? And like, let's talk about like bleacher bums. I don't know too many bums with $100 to go to a ball game in their pocket. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, you know, really the bums are sitting in the last row in upper deck reserve behind a pole. Whereas, you know, the people pretending to be bums are the best. So there's a lot of misnomers going on. There's a lot of exploitation of Cubs fans. We are a national brand. Like I think about this all the time. The White Sox are the Chicago team. The Cubs are a national team in Chicago.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So,
yep.
You know, so it's like, do that with that what you will. I grew up in the Northwest suburbs. My first game in Chicago was in the South Side at Sox Park. My family's Cubs. My family, a lot of them are Sox fans. My mom grew up a Sox fan. But just the fact that Harry Carey was on in 1984, you know, Marla Collins in booty shorts was running around, you know, with baseball.
And they're on WGN, and it's like you can watch every game. And you're like, yeah.
I couldn't see the Sox games. So I became a Cubs fan, and that's as simple as that. And a lot of us are like that around the country, if not the world. Yeah. That got to, you know, Puerto Rico. I got friends in Puerto Rico. My grandma watched, she liked the Mets and the Cubs. Why? Superstations. That's it. Yeah. Cable superstations.
Came right to you. Yep.
And so, you know, when you compare our franchises, you know, what gets me is that even though the Cubs have been relatively decent here and there over the years, had some success over the last 10 years, I would say, except for, you know, the recent sort of fall from grace. Yeah. The Sox have the winning record against the Cubs in our head-to-head matchups. And we always play each other tough in these crosstown series. Right. And like, as you said, I think in your notes, like, this is your World Series.
This is our World Series. Yeah, it basically is. Sox fans won't want to admit it. But really, these are the games they're looking forward to. And a lot of them have been tuned out, and some of them are going to tune back in Tuesday, Wednesday, just to watch this, Danny. And I guess my question to push that back in your direction is, you know, these games, you're right, have always been competitive. And in the 2000 and 2010s, like, you would go to these games, at least at Sox Park. Not as much at Wrigley. I went to a few at Wrigley. It wasn't as bad. But there'd be fights breaking out. It would be high intensity in the crowd. And my question for you is, because the Sox have fallen down to this level where we're so bad, is it just another game for Cubs fans at this point? Or is there still a level of, you know what, fuck the White Sox, I don't care how bad they are, we want to stomp on them?
Well, I think one of the biggest mistakes that MLB has made in general with this whole like schedule situation is taking some of the kind of specialness out of these matchups. So, like, if you play every team every year like we do now, you know, it's really not a big deal when the Royals come to town or, you know, and back in the day, the American and National League didn't play at all.
Right.
And so when
that's how we grew up.
And you had two different styles of play, like one had the DH and one didn't. So there was something interesting about that. Yeah. So now that we're all the same, you know, it doesn't have that sort of like, oh, we're playing the Sox this year. This is so great. You know, and it's almost a ploy now. They don't even put it on a weekend. It's on a freaking Tuesday.
I know. They're just like, well, we'll do a giveaway on the weekend, and we'll get people in anyway. We can get people in the weekdays. Come Sox. It's like a marketing thing.
It's a marketing thing. So they put it on a Tuesday. So like, oh, we can get a Tuesday sellout instead of, you know, more fans coming up tomorrow. But you're right. There used to be fights and stuff. There's still fights at all these games because, whenever alcohol is involved and a bunch of meatheads getting together, it's going to fight for no reason. But the thing about it is between Cubs and Sox fans is I don't think it's that Cubs fans hate the Sox as a baseball team. I think they just hate the fans.
I think this is correct. Yeah, I think that most of the ire is between the fans and not between the actual teams. I agree with this.
We're not rivals. We're not, you know what I mean?
Different leagues, everything. It's more like I want the Sox to win because fuck my neighbor who likes the Cubs kind of attitude is really the way it is. Yeah. Or I don't want to hear that guy at work talking shit if my team loses. That's where it's at, I think.
Well, and some of that rivalry stuff has dissipated because, basically kids learned how to be nice to each other since we were children. And and you and I grew up on a playground where kids would get bloody noses over arguing about the DH and stuff like that, So, not that was good, but it's just how we grew up, I think, a little bit more. Yeah. And that was a little bit more of an intense situation, between my Cubs and Sox fans, even out in northwest suburbs where most people were White Sox or more Cubs fans could be from the north side. There were always a smattering of White Sox fans. And when they'd play each other, because the Crosstown Classic used to be one exhibition game.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was fun because you would see some of the minor leaguers and you never got a chance to see those guys. Michael Jordan played.
I remember. He had a double down the line, the famous Harry Carey call of all that. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
So those were more fun because then people just showed up to fight. It was.
And the game didn't matter at all except for that part of it. That's where that grew out of. Was we need to win this even though it's an exhibition because it's just you against your neighbor kind of ire there.
Bragging rights. It was only about bragging rights. Now it actually counts. And really over the years, I mean, so many walk-offs.
Yes.
So many walk-offs. Exciting games that comebacks, huge comebacks that happened. There was one game where I think the Cubs were up 8-0 and the Sox came back and won.
Yes.
There was, of course, I think probably the most famous game was the Przinsky Barrett,
the fight.
That was insane. And that, you can't slide like that anymore. I mean, he didn't even slide. He just he came in with a battering ram and just knocked Barrett.
The intention was to knock this guy down. That was
knock the ball
game.
Loose.
It was a different game.
Yeah. But now, Barrett would have been called for obstruction.
Exactly. He had 3 toes on the plate, so he's safe.
Exactly.
It's different now.
Yeah. One of his butt hairs was sticking over the plate. He's safe.
He blocked the plate.
Yeah, he blocked it. So it's just so there's always that intensity, and I feel like the players feel it too. Even though they're not from Chicago, maybe you'll have one guy in the whole stadium on the fields playing that is from anywhere in the area.
It's true.
But they can feel it from us. These are live events. They know when the stadium's charged up. I think
they can feel that, and I'm sure they love that.
Yeah, exactly. Who wouldn't? And I think the games also on the south side take even a little bit of a different flavor because I don't know what it is about there. It really does feel like enemy territory for Cub fans in a way that I don't think we make it feel that way for you guys. In a way,
so. No, I would agree with you. Yeah, I think you're right about this. Yeah.
And you should be proud of that. It's why you're 74-68 against us because we come in and we're like, hey, I hope everybody has a good time. It was we don't care. We're making cup snakes. We're not even paying attention.
It's fun. It's fun though. That's fun, Danny.
Exactly. So, so I think you should be proud of kind of intimidating Cub fans. I think if Cub fans didn't feel intimidated to go down there,
even if our team's crappy, we should. This is something to hang our hat on. I appreciate this. This compliment, Danny.
Yeah. For example, even on this podcast, I wore a Cub shirt. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
It's a Cub shirt. It's Cubs versus Reds. It's the corn game. Yeah. But it's black. I was like, I better wear some White Sox colors on the show. I want to fit in a little bit.
You got the ranter hat on at least, though. I appreciate that. Let me get to a couple of drinks real quick. Baloney says, selfie stick rental. He's got my selfie stick, one of my selfie sticks from over the weekend when we were making content. So thanks, Baloney. Appreciate you.
You rock, Baloney.
And then Joey P says, can't we all just get along? Yeah. He said, he's with you there, Danny.
And getting back to like even Ranter Fest that we threw, I'm like, that's kind of something like that. That could be a citywide thing. There's no reason that that's a Cubs event,
Well, no, you messaged me like, hey, come check it out. I'm like, I was interested. I'm like, fuck yeah. If we weren't going up to Milwaukee, I would have checked out one of the nights, especially the comedy night sounded great because like it was gonna be like a little combative with the fan base. That's kind of funny. Like I like that.
Yeah, because I told the Brewers guy and I gave him some material on my co-host too. I was like, hey, rip on him about this, rip on him about that, because he's like, basically Eric Wheelo is well known on my show as playing. He's an insult comic, so playing up the heel. He's the heel of the show. Yeah. So when we announced him, he got a great round of boos, and he told me afterwards, he's like, "I've never felt so loved."
I fucking love that.
And I feel like we could probably. It doesn't even have to be Rancher Fest. It would be fun if like we got the 108s and the Ranters together and threw some big freaking crosstown love fest and just like got together, threw a big.
I'm down for this. Yeah, let's talk offline. Let's try to set something up. I think we got the makings of something here.
Skills competition.
Exactly. Barroom games or something.
Yeah, barroom games, beer pong, Cubs versus Sox. Dude, we got it. Oh man, we'll have a 16-inch softball game.
There you go. Exactly. We'll have a great time. Before I let you go, I want to get to your prediction on the series and who you think might be the hero of this 2-game set that starts tomorrow, Tuesday night at Wrigley Field. Go ahead, Danny. What do you think?
Oh, we're just not playing well. And so I believe that we will split this series because we always do. There's no way. It's been rare that I think one team sweeps the other, even though these are 2-game sets, they call them. It's BS. But, Shota Imanaga, I'm looking for him to bounce back from the last time he went out there. He's been really good. He's a really cool pitcher to watch. He's very tricky. They call him the pitching philosopher. And so I think him versus Flexen, that's our chance at a win. If we lose that one, I can see it really going south because we are playing so poorly because Eric Fetty, Tyone, listen, Tyone, he's like a stalwart middle of the rotation kind of guy.
Right.
He's going to go 5-6 innings. He's going to give up 3 runs every freaking time. Like no doubt in my mind. He's not great. He's not bad. He's solid. And that's innings eater. That's what they call him. Eric Fetty, he's probably, would you say he's your best pitcher right now?
I mean, it's him and Garrett Crochet neck and neck. I would say that the surface level stats probably favor Fetty. The expected stats and advanced metrics favor Crochet. Both of them have been very good, and once you get past that is where all the big drop off is on the pitching side.
Yeah, so that's going to be the tougher matchup, I think, for the Cubs. So it's really hard to say. I'm guessing we win the Imanaga start if he can bounce back. And he has got no-hit stuff. Like the dude was untouchable for him.
And we're the type of team that can be no-hit. Like I haven't been yet this year, but like they've gotten in the 7th, 8th inning a bunch of times without a hit. So yeah, we
were almost no-hit by the Mets in New York, and then we came back and won that game like somehow. Yeah. So there were games we won that we were getting no hit in. So there's some weird stuff that happened. Nice. So, but he's just had really good stuff, and I think you'll enjoy seeing him in Aga, even like Sox fans, because he's new, and he comes out.
I've not caught him yet at all, so I'll be interested to check him out.
Yeah, so that's been interesting, and our offense has just been total dog crap. So if it's what you say is true, that we'll get it together against you,
we bring teams out of slumps, Danny. This is what we do on the South side.
We might turn your whole season around. I don't know.
I'm hopeful that is the case. I'm doubting it right now, just given that we don't really have. Maybe they'll bring Luis Robert back and we'll have one real major league hitter in the lineup. I'm not sure, but maybe I could hope for that. So, but Danny, thanks so much for informing us on Ranter Fest, the Cubs recent skid, Cubs Twitter, and the White Sox Cubs rivalry. Remember, we ain't trying to be read on the show. We're just trying to understand. You have anything you want to plug before you go?
Yeah, you know what? This weekend, I'm going to be in Cincinnati. Cubs are playing in Cincinnati, and Billy DeVore and Chris Weir, who are two of the comedians that were at Rancher Fest, they're throwing their a live pod of their show, The New Nasty Boys, and I'm going to be on that. So I'll be in Cincinnati, and we're going to be at Binsky's Bar. If you're ever in Cincinnati, it's a Chicago bar that they have there. They serve Malort in ashtrays.
Love it.
So the guys from Chicago that opened it, he's like, he's got an old style sign. He went all the way that he could go. He's
did
like,
it right.
He did it right. He founded this bar. It's called Binsky's Bar. We will be there on Saturday. So if you're a Cub fan by any chance or in the Cincinnati area, want to come down to a Chicago bar, hang out with some really funny people, come down there. I might probably even play a couple songs.
Oh, love it, man. Danny, thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on. Take care, my friend.
Beef Loaf, you're the man.
Take care, buddy. That was awesome. I was so glad we finally got to do that. Danny's the best. Next week's guest, I took a long shot here, and I'm hoping the audience likes this. I'm having Julie Swyka on, former 670 The Score talent back in the day. She doesn't do sports radio anymore. She's going to come on and talk old days of the Score, and then also the White Sox. She's a White Sox fan. She pays very close attention. I know she has some thoughts on the play-by-play guy. Just want to thank Punky's Pizza and Pasta and all the 108 families up in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you smashing the like button, comments, and of course, drinks and tips. We'll see you on Thursday night for the 108 Podcast.